Schedule release tomorrow. We're releasing ours today. Trey Hendrickson, what's going on? The news is out with potential movement. Greg Braggs is here. Yeah. As am I. The CHGO Bears Podcast starts right now. This is the CHGO Bears Podcast on a Victory Tuesday. That's right. Shout out to our friends at the store sponsoring the softball team. 1-0, Gregory, 18-2.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yep. We did it for you yesterday. I talked to the team and said, listen, Greg Braggs has been going through a lot. He's been limping around the studios, but he's there every single day. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see anybody giving a lack of effort tonight, and we all channeled our Greg Braggs and got a victory, 1-0.
Who'd you guys play?
Block Club Tribune, outstanding team.
I heard they thought they were playing the Ringer the Ringers. Get it?
Well, if you don't want to get the bull, don't mess with the horn, something like that, whatever. We're going for a three-peat over here. But that's not why you're here. Tons to do here. The schedule release, as you probably know because you're watching this podcast and you love the Bears, is tomorrow. So we will be doing a show tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Don't worry about the fact that I'm missing my niece's championship soccer game. Don't worry about that at all. Carm, it's going to be awesome tomorrow night as we get to see how the schedule will unfold in 2025. But we like to be ahead of the curve here, so we're actually going to do our own schedule release today. I worked very hard on it. It took me longer than I expected. Greg's probably, because he's so smart, did it in 5 seconds. But we do have already 2 games on the schedule.
Yeah.
All right. We're playing the Packers on the Saturday, December 20th at home.
That tailgate is going to be lit.
That tailgate is going to be insanity. I think we should start Friday night. Can we do that? Why can't we go Friday night into
Saturday? Yeah,
holiday
3 o'clock. You just got done saying the other day just how much you like the 3 o'clock tailgates.
I love 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
it's actually so we don't need the Friday night. My bad.
Yeah,
we can just.
Well, we do.
Well, we could.
We could.
In the middle, kids are off from school. College kids are home from school.
Mm-hmm.
Degenerates haven't been working for a long time. It's perfect. It's holiday season. You forget about all your troubles. That's going to be a huge game, jockeying for playoff position.
There's like 3 NFL games that day, and then there's a bunch of college football playoff games that night. So that's a loaded football day.
Yeah.
Man.
Just remember to.
And we all love Chicago summers, but get me to that date.
No. Calm down. It's warm finally today. Let's enjoy this. Let's not rush it along. Also, Black Friday day, no Turkey Day working for us this year, Gregory, but we will be working the day after. Bears at Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about spending Black Friday with me?
I'm excited for it. It's nice. Yeah, last year we were here in studio for Thanksgiving. My mom was nice enough to cook us all a nice little Thanksgiving meal, but this year we can watch games on Thanksgiving in peace. No stress until the next day. So that, for me, I'm happy. I mean, we're going to have to play the Eagles one way or another at some point this season. On a Friday, the day after the holidays, I'll take it. Take it.
See, I like to play good teams on days after holidays because hopefully they're a little distracted.
Little tryptophan.
Right. And they're at home, so they're like extra comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Bears are going to be traveling probably the day before.
I don't know how they'll do that. Maybe they let them have a little turkey day early and they leave that day late.
Too much stuffing for the Eagles. I like this.
Right. They're just way too relaxed.
Stuffed Eagles.
Not ready to play. Can't get.
Already got you the headline sometimes. Stuffed Eagles.
Can't find the motivation to get it done the day after Thanksgiving. Ben Johnson's Bears, they don't get sidetracked like that. Great opportunity. We don't even the whole not drafting Jalen Carter. He's going to the Hall of Fame thing. We won't that won't even matter on Black Friday.
Yeah.
That's the first time the Bears ever played on a Black Friday. It's history, Greg. You're a big history guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge history guy.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and then looking around, what else is out there? The Vikings are playing back-to-back international games in 2 different countries, London and Ireland. Are you jealous? Because that could have been us.
It could have. Last year, we'd have been doing a London to Ireland trip. I wouldn't have been upset, but from a competitive standpoint, I do like that the Vikings have this going on because that's not easy, man. I mean, you're playing the Steelers and the Browns, not the toughest teams in the NFL, depending on who the Steelers quarterback is this upcoming year. The Browns are the Browns, but I do like that the Vikings have to be over there for an extended period, going to 2 different countries, even if it doesn't result in losses across seas. I think it will affect them when they come back.
Damn right.
Well, that's a lot.
It's a little annoying because
they'll probably have a bye week when they get back.
Well, and they're playing the Steelers and the Browns, so I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying though. Yeah. You're either gonna have a bye week. You're gonna have a bye week after. I have to imagine. So that means that they have not played a home game in like a month span, right?
Yeah, and they're gonna stack it late for them, huh?
Could be. I mean, I don't know how many of those 2 games. Probably
it'll be interesting.
How many of those are actual home games on their schedule? But
yeah, well, it plays out like this. They play the 28th, which is at 9:30 in the morning for Eastern Standard, 8:30 here, Steelers, and then the 5th, the following week with the Browns, and then other London games, Tottenham Hotspur on the 12th. It's the Broncos and the Jets. And then on the 19th, it's the Rams and the Jaguars. And then on the 9th at Olympic Stadium, the Rams and the Jaguars are at Wembley. The other one was at Tottenham, at the Broncos and the Jets, if you're following me on the 12th. Then Wembley on the 19th, Rams and Jaguars. November 9th, Falcons and Colts in Berlin. And then November 16th, Sunday, 8:30, Dolphins, Commanders in Madrid.
That would have been fun in Madrid.
Couldn't we have knocked out one of these? But that's fine. Whatever. We got to go last year. That was sweet.
If you would have had a preference, one of these games, which one would you have preferred?
Madrid.
Madrid?
Or Germany. Germany would be cool.
Never been to Germany. Did go to Madrid in my first midlife crisis at 30. When I stayed at multiple hostels, got bed bugs. There was a situation where there wasn't any hotels available. Ended up in an Airbnb with Louisa. We'll keep that one off the show for the rest of this show, but stories could be available in the Discord.
Well, and I don't know if people know this too when you talk about Madrid, but each team is assigned international markets. So if you go down the list, there's different teams, multiple countries that you are assigned to. And so the Bears are actually assigned to Spain and the United Kingdom. So obviously last year going to London. But it would have been interesting if they had done it back-to-back. But I would expect the Bears at some point to play in Madrid because of that fact.
You ever been to Spain?
I have not.
Phenomenal.
Sounds lovely.
Like phenomenal. It was like really, really, really... It's my favorite country that I've been to, mainly because of the people. Excellent point by Snid, but Louisa was no Pam. That's an excellent point. There will never be another Pam at the Ware train station.
Never.
Outside of London. That was amazing. Okay, so there you have it. Schedule tomorrow. Leaks are out. By the way, to watch every NFL game in 2025, you need access to 10 different networks. You need CBS, Fox, NBC, ESPN, ABC, YouTube TV. That's for your NFL Sunday ticket. You need Peacock. You need Netflix. You need Amazon Prime Video. And you need NFL Plus.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, it gives me a headache.
It gives me yeah. I mean, bring back the ticket on DirecTV and enough of this nonsense. It's going to get worse, too. I mean, you had the Cubs the other day on Roku. We're on Roku, so shout out to Roku. But we just need one home base for football. Not all these different, especially ones where you have to pay to be able to watch. Like that's a bridge too far. We're getting way too many streaming sites for all these different games. You want to stream games, fine, but we need to start allocating into, particular places and not have it just spread out like a shotgun shell.
Well, the reality is that people are not going to buy them. And just like the Cubs are suffering from being on marquee, just like the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox are suffering from being on CHSN. Football fans, there's enough out there so it really won't matter. I get it. They're squeezing every last drip of juice they could possibly get out of the lemon here because greed is real and always. But it's not good for the fans, and ultimately, at some point, it will have an impact on the overall product.
And speaking of squeezing the juice out of this, you're ruining the schedule release. This 3-day slow drip. I don't like this either. All of it on Wednesday. We don't need 3 different days to announce Netflix, to announce Peacock, to announce Amazon Prime. Like, everybody gets a day. No, it's all on Wednesday or nothing. I've had enough of this charade, and I would like this to be an organized event on Wednesday night. Every team's schedule announced. Old man yelling at cloud. Enough's enough. Stop ruining what I love.
Yeah. And I'm with your boy Boogie. I'm not buying any stream service, sorry. And Blake, stream illegally from your computer and Chromecast to the TV. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that's a great
illegal.
idea. I don't know if I'm allowed
illegal. Arrest him. Who said that?
Blake.
Blake who?
Blake did a great job. I think
Where's Blake? It just says Blake. Blake, you are under arrest.
Blake, I'm with you. Do what you got to do. I'm, crimes don't hurt anybody. There you go. Hey, there is some NFL news out there that we should hit on to start the show here, even though we're 10 minutes into the show. Trey Hendrickson met with reporters yesterday and is saying that it is now personal with the Bengals. He will not play unless he gets a new deal. He did not like the fact that Zach Taylor sent him a text, hey, if you don't show up to mandatory minicamp in 30 days, you're going to get fined. He also sort of walked that back, saying there was no good time to send him that text, but he did not appreciate getting that text. So we talked about this on a mini pod. You can check that out with myself, Hogue, and Greg yesterday. But as the news continues to come out here, Tom Pelissero tweeting he ain't playing until he gets a new deal. You do wonder if the Bears are making calls to Cincinnati and what it would take for Cincinnati to actually give up with a guy who is the only guy in Cincinnati that can get to the quarterback.
Well, I would say that the Bears can be patient here. I mean, you saw this play out with Khalil Mack in Chicago once upon a time. Let that relationship continue to dissolve. See what the rest of the landscape of the NFL is looking at this, and don't run too quickly to the checkout line. And let this just play out all the way even till training camp. And now we have an opportunity to pounce on maybe some lesser value because, as we mentioned yesterday, he's just turning 30, right? So, he's led the league in sacks the last couple of years, but there has been a precedent for different pass rushers fetching a 3rd-round pick and a conditional pick. I know some people – yesterday you brought up Javon Dexter as maybe package a player with a pick. I think it's just going to take one pick, and maybe it's just a 2nd rounder if you really want to come over the top. But if you want to wait it out, maybe there's an opportunity where you can get a 3rd-round pick. Any idea? I know some people are throwing out the idea of, Cole Kmet being that guy. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me because you still have to develop Colston Loveland, a guy that right now can't work out because he has a shoulder injury. Going to be hard enough for him to acclimate himself to the NFL.
Not trading Kmet.
Yeah, so I'm just letting you know what people are talking about,
yeah,
and yes, we're going to push that off the table, and that's what I'm saying. 2nd round, 3rd round at worst, or at best for the Bears. I would be all for that.
It would be super exciting. I have a hard time. I don't think the Bears are one player away. So what is the cost to get him? If it becomes reasonable. You still got to pay him. You're going to have to get super creative at some point.
Because whoever's getting him has to pay him, or else he's just going to hold out for your team.
Right.
You know, we saw this with who? Was it Hassan Reddick? Or who was it?
Yeah, he held out with the Jets.
They traded for him, and then he held out.
Yeah, he went from the Eagles to the Jets, held out, wanted a contract extension, and finally played at the very end of the year, I believe.
Right. So you got to pay the guy that you trade for.
Trey Hendrickson, the last 2 years with the Bengals, has 35 sacks. 35.
It's a lot.
The next on the list for the Bengals has 8 sacks, Sam Hubbard.
Right.
BJ Hill has 7.5. I find it hard to believe that the Bengals would let this dude go. That is.
Well, when Hogue was here and we were talking about blue players, he'd be a blue player on your team. He'd probably be your best player on your team.
What's the level above blue? Because that's what you'd be hope to be getting. Any of our blue players, if Trey Hendrickson came to the Bears, he'd instantly be the Bears' best player.
I don't know.
By a considerable margin.
Yeah, he's led the league in sacks 2 consecutive years. I think 17.5 both years. What's interesting for me is, let's say the price is a second rounder and you do get Trey Hendrickson. You're doing that knowing your team's getting better. That second round pick that you're sending becomes less valuable. It could be a pick in the mid 40s, upper 50s, somewhere around that area. I'd do it.
Yep. I'm not going to push back on it. It's fine. They absolutely. If you want to tell me that the Bears are trading a second-round pick to get Trey Hendrickson and pay him for 3 years and $120 million and say it's $100 guaranteed, okay, let's go. But I'd feel a lot more comfortable with it if we actually saw the offense being the offense that we think it's going to be. But again, when great players become available, like this premium players, being in the conversation makes a whole lot of sense. And
for sure.
Everybody lives around you're an 8-9 win football team until you're not. That guy could change a whole lot of things. All right, coming on back here, the schedule release that you've always been waiting for.
Can't wait.
Is the Carman Braggs release, because we know what's going to happen tomorrow. Mark Potash, Potsy, the legend, coming up in 13 minutes or so. But first.
That's right.
That is right, Gregory.
Mm-hmm. That is so right.
It's definitely right.
Mm-hmm.
I know you want to tell
everyone. Read an ad.
I know that. Yeah. Are you okay?
I am okay. I apologize.
Why don't I tell everybody?
No, I'm going to tell them about Sunnyside.
Put it in there,
because
buddy.
I love Sunnyside, and we are going to be back for the Cubs Sox Friday 120 Clubs, presented by Sunnyside. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. The sunshine is out, thank you very much. It's a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations all across the city. Like I said, it's in Wrigleyville, it's in River North, it's in the suburbs, anywhere you need. If you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands we know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. If you're a pro, we've got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added daily. We know you'll love Cresco and Floricals. Incredible quality and consistent products. So visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter the promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only for 21 or older or Illinois medical card holders.
And a shout out to our friends at Empire Today. Just like your favorite team needs that home court, home field, home ice advantage, you need the home floor advantage. I love our friends at Empire. You know why? Because they're experts. They know what they're doing because they're dedicated flooring professionals. They focus on flooring every single day. They weren't laying brick one day and then coming in and trying to sell you something. No. They do this every single day. They live and breathe it. And they're going to be with you every step of the way. And what they're going to do is come right to you. And you're going to pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space, in your space. You're going to see how it looks in your house. They're going to give you precise measurements right there, answer all your questions. No surprises. You don't have to go driving around. They're coming right to you. It is sweet, and you get clear, upfront, all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule that installation as soon as tomorrow, Gregory. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are indeed better at home. CHGO listeners, you get $350 off, a $350 discount when you use the promo code CHGO. Yes, you heard that right. I did say that. $350 discount with the code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. All right, Gregory.
Yes, sir.
You worked long and hard on this. Do you want to go first on schedule release, or do you want my elite schedule to be released first? How would you like to do this?
I can go first. Obviously, the 2025 opponents, as we've said a few times here in the last few weeks, the home schedule seems to be a little easier than the road schedule. You got the Lions, Packers, Vikings at home and away, but then you've got the Cowboys, the Giants, the Browns, the Steelers, and the Saints at home. And then you've got the Ravens, the Bengals, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Niners, and then the Raiders away. So that's pretty tough proposition on the road there. Not too many breaks. But we went through the schedule here, Steven, and this is kind of how I broke it down. We are starting the season playing the Detroit Lions at Detroit on Sunday Night Football. Let's dial it up right away. I know the division games don't always happen week one, but you see that's happened with the Eagles and the Cowboys on Thursday night. So let's double down on this divisional matchup. Let's let Ben Johnson hear it from the Lions crowd in Detroit, Sunday night prime time. And because the road schedule is so hard, the NFL is now going to reward us with 3 straight home games after that Lions game. The Giants, the Browns, and the Steelers, all winnable games. I like that there. You can pull it off the screen. I got it in front of me here too, Steven. We got the Vikings. Well, I was just letting you know. The people want to see our beautiful faces.
Do they?
Too. Well, you can put it back up on the screen. No, I don't. We got the Vikings and then the Raiders, 2 straight road games. Then we got the Cowboys at home and then San Fran before the bye. So we're going to have our schedule predictions tomorrow, but if this were to play out this way, the Bears are going to have to find their way to 5 wins in those first 8 games before they play their bye week. And then they've got the Vikings after the bye. Always good to play a divisional opponent after the bye. Then you'll have the Bengals sandwiched in between the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. So we're going to play the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football. Reason being, because we already know in Week 13, the Bears play the Eagles on Black Friday. So essentially a week off. You get that extra day there. But nice to have a Thursday night game. And then you don't have to play, that quickly on the back-to-back. You get a little extra time there. So, yes, sir.
No, it's a good job.
Okay, thank you.
I'm actually kind of upset because I didn't look at yours, and we have some similarities, and I'm really annoyed by it, but
that's okay.
It's the way it is.
And we got the Ravens week 14 at Ravens, then at home. Saints got to come in December to Soldier Field. That's going to be a tough one. And then we already know week 16, the Bears play the Packers on Saturday at 3:25. And then, of course, the Washington Commanders on Christmas Day. They're going to die. They've already got Jaden Daniels going to, to an international, affair. He's become the big time ticket, and they're going to want one of the best games of last year highlighted over and over on Christmas Day, where they can show that replay of the hated Hail Mary here in Chicago another 500 times. And then we start the season with the Lions. We end the season with the Lions. And if it comes down to playoff implications, which I think it will, it'll be flexed into a Monday Night Football affair. So that is my schedule. Write it down. Don't need to see the schedule released tomorrow. Actually, you do because we have a show.
They do Monday night in the last week of the season?
Yeah, I think they started doing that. They did start doing that. Yes, they started doing that.
Okay, we'll have to double check the math on that.
If they didn't start doing that, then I'll get yelled at in the chat here shortly.
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure they started doing that.
Bochanton, double check that work because I don't think they did, but maybe I'm wrong. All right, so we have some similarities here, but let me just, first of all, I thought it was interesting. Stephen Nicholas with the little tip, hey, did you check and see if there's any conflicts on the Soldier Field schedule? Because Lord knows Kevin Warren's been very upset with the situation at Soldier Field. And I was just checking it out, and there are some interesting dates in here. The Chicago Fire play at home on September 6th, 13th, and 27th. That is week 1, 2, and 4, and all those games are on a Saturday night. They also play at home week 5, October 4th, at home. And then week 7, there's Making Strides of Chicago presented by Lemonhead. Lemonhead's going to be here. And then in week 9...
Wait, Lemonheads?
Lemonhead, yeah.
I love Lemonheads.
Yeah. And then week 9, you've got the rematch, Ireland versus the All Blacks. That would be rugby. All right? So when I was doing this, I'm like, they can't be playing at home on a Sunday, the day after soccer and or rugby and or the Lemonhead. So that is why I at least partly schedule the way I did it this way. So we're going to start out on the road on week 1. And, yeah, I've got the same exact thing. They're playing at Detroit. This is annoying. But here you go. We go to Detroit. And then week 2.
No way.
Right to Green Bay. Back-to-back to open up in the division. Let's just rock and roll. 2 division games on the come. Last year we wrapped up with the division. Here we go, starting it out. Sunday Night Football, Green Bay, week 2.
I will fight Roger Goodell if this is what happens.
This is what's happening. I've already talked to him. Roger and I were in a long meeting last night, and Roger likes me these days. It's great. Then we need a gimme. So we'll take the Giants at home in week 3. Then we're going to Cincinnati. And then we're coming home, week 5. Again, the Fire are playing on the 4th. So we're going to play the Cowboys and the Floose on a Thursday night. That's right, baby. Thursday night. Come on over here, Matt Eberflus.
I can see that.
We're gonna sing and dance with Dallas. Back it up with the Vikings in week 6. Then we're going out west for the 49ers in a week 7. Back home with the Saints. I was having a hard time where to put them, so let's just put them in the middle of the schedule. And then the Commanders. Primetime Washington. What did I do with that? I think I made that that's a Monday night football game with Washington on week 9, followed by the Browns at home, and then we get our bye week late, and then we all get excited. They're going to leave early in the middle of the bye week and just go out to Vegas and start hanging out. We're going with them. Let's go week 12 at Las Vegas, living the dream. Braggs is going to become a craps expert. It's going to be phenomenal. Then, of course, the Eagles come, which was released, back home with the Steelers, going to Minnesota, and then there's your Green Bay game, the other primetime matchup with the Packers. The Ravens, I had a hard time figuring out where to put them, so I just put them in week 17 because hopefully Baltimore will be dead by then and not interested in playing, or the game won't mean anything. How's that? Something along those lines. They'll be hurt. That'd be the safest place to put the Ravens. And then I do the same thing as Gregory. Bookend it. Home with Detroit to wrap it up in the cold. Phenomenal tailgate for the diehards.
We're on the same page.
And here we go.
We're on the same page. Detroit to start, Detroit to finish.
I think that would be interesting because then you get the Ben Johnson litmus test of him as a head coach versus his old team. And then you could also recap that at the end of the season and see, all right, now I've had a full season as a head coach.
Right.
Here's what it looks like now.
Yeah. And it's going to be a litmus test for Dan Campbell. How does he do without Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? Not well. That's how he's going to do.
So what I wanted to do right now, which is not on the program schedule for today, Greg, is to make a wager with you.
Uh-oh.
And
how many games we get right?
Yep, that's correct. How many games we get right?
Okay.
And
$5 a game.
I was thinking 10 push-ups a game on the show. I don't know. Can you do push-ups?
Well, I mean, that's fine. I doubt we're gonna hit very many of these. This is not easy to do.
So if we hit none, then me and you have to do.
I don't know with my. I might be. I haven't tried.
How about what can you do? What physical? what physical?
How about $5 a game? $5 a game that we get right?
$5 a game donated to Carm Sweet Bippy's best charity. You want to do that?
That's fine. I mean, whatever. I mean, like I said, we're probably not going to get very many of these right. We might. Maybe we hit the whole thing. I do hope we start the season with the Lions. Bring it on. That's a great story. I know last year everybody was all for the Titans to start the year. That ended up working out because the Bears were not ready to play football, and they ended up beating a team that was more not ready to play.
The Titans beat themselves.
Yeah, exactly. As Will Levis just chucks a ball behind his head for a pick six to Tyreek Stevenson. I mean, what would you say is the most winnable game on their schedule this year? What would you guys say? Because I know that's what a lot of Bears fans like. Is
Saints.
It's the Saints. So we'd start the season with the boring old Saints to start the year, but you get a win.
I'd be down. I like wins to start the season.
I love wins to start the season. They're my favorite.
I mean, but you got a bunch of winnable games. Let's not.
I think you have a bunch of winnable home games.
Saints, Browns, Giants.
If they don't look, the Steelers, the Browns, the Giants, the Saints. I mean, Dallas feels like a very winnable game at home, and then you got the division. Now on the road, obviously everyone's looking at it and where's a win. Raiders, right? They're going to be underdogs to the Ravens. They're going to be underdogs to the Niners. They're going to be underdogs to the Commanders. They're going to be underdogs to the Vikings. They're going to be underdogs to the Packers. They're going to be underdogs to the Eagles. They're going to be underdogs to the Bengals. They're going to be underdogs to the Lions in every single road game, minus the Raiders, which probably is going to be a 1 or 2 point spread either way.
Absolutely.
But, of course, we don't know how the season's going to go, and teams get injured, and maybe the Bears will be favored in some of them. But right now, that's how it would be. All right, Mark Potash is coming up in a matter of moments. Gregory, you are...
I am so excited to take another break, Stephen Nicholas.
Yes.
That is exactly...
Before we get to Potash, but first,
want to give a shout out to our guys over at PXG. Their golf clubs are second to none, and if you know anything about this show, you know I'm a world-class golfer, and we all are, golfing enthusiasts. I know Steven's going on a trip here real soon. I know he's going to hit up PXG before he does. Their fitting experience is second to none. It's just one of those top-notch locations that you got to hit up. The fastest way to improve your performance on the golf course is a PXG fitting. PXG fitters are highly trained, incredibly experienced, and have a deep understanding of how to optimize your clubs to get the most out of your swing. Adam Hogue proved that when we were in Arizona last year. His game never looked better until he was playing with some PXGs. PXG fittings are educational and fun, so you'll learn a little more about the game as well. So schedule your fitting today, and for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. So head over to pxg.com/CHGO. That's pxg.com/CHGO to save up to 20% on your entire order. Once again, that's pxg.com/CHGO. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
And if you ever tried to buy a home, get a loan, deal with money stuff in general, it is a lot. That's why we are here to help you out with our friends and tell you about the Rate app, which is an absolute game changer. Download that QR code right on your screen right now, and you can get pre-approved for a mortgage in minutes. You can also get a home equity loan or a personal loan in under 15 days. The Rate app is also phenomenal for your homeowners or your auto insurance. You want to get a better deal on that? You think you're overpaying? The Rate app is going to help you get there. And if you're not needing any of that stuff, you do need or could use or would benefit from their 800 free wellness videos. They're helping me sleep. They're helping me focus. We got meditation. We got breathing exercises. We got stretching exercises. We've got nutrition. All free, all phenomenal, super helpful, right there for you. Hit that QR code and get on in. If you're stressed about a loan or a mortgage, just let the Rate app handle it. And once you got that covered, go over to the wellness videos, 800 of them. Amazing instructors on there. You'll really enjoy it. It's super cool. You'll be like, wow, this is amazing. Download the Rate app today to get started. A great guy that should be doing his own videos on the Rate app is our friend, the legend. We missed him at Bears rookie minicamp. I'm working on forcing him to come because right now I believe we could call Mark Potash a free agent in the Bears writing world. Is that a fair way to put it, Potsy? Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
All right. Well, we got to work on that.
Potsy,
we need Potsy going.
Potsy, I was thinking about for mini camps and OTAs, if maybe me and you could do some content since we're away, from the fray. Maybe we're like on a fishing boat, breaking it down in our own special way and letting these guys, let the rat race guys fight the scrum. We don't need to fight the scrum to give second to none coverage.
That's not true. We need Potsy in the scrum, but I
don't know. I think my forte is being in the scrum, being in the game. So I'm not sure how well I do in a kind of unplugged type of situation. But at this point, I'd be willing to give anything a try.
There we go. There we go.
All right, so Mark, we haven't talked to you in a minute. Let's start at the top here. How do you think the Bears did in the draft? Did you like the Colston Loveland pick?
Well, yeah, I like I like any offensive player they take with Ben Johnson as their head coach. I think that changes the game for the Bears. I mean, he's the most qualified offensive head coach they've had, and so that gives everybody a better chance. So to me, the only thing I was looking for them to do in the draft was to draft offense, because I think the whole idea of just fortifying the offensive line and giving him the best chance to get his side of the ball right, which was Matt Nagy's big failing, is good for the Bears. So I have no idea how good. I don't know whether he's the next Adam Shaheen or the next George Kittle, but I just like the idea that they're thinking offense and picking guys, as you can tell. I mean, Ben Johnson had a tight end and a pretty good one when he started with Detroit, and he ended up with the guy he really wanted, and that worked out better for him. So just the idea that he knows what he wants, and he had a big decision there on either or, and you got to believe that he got his guy. Whether it's the right guy, we'll see.
So did you read that okay, Ryan's sitting there with his new head guy and be like, "What do you want? I really like this tight end. Okay, I'm going to go do that for you." Like, basically, Ben had some pull in the draft room. Let's say it like that.
Yeah, Ben Johnson's the co-GM. I mean, this is the new age where the coach and GM are much more aligned than they used to be. Certainly in the Bears organization, this is all new stuff for the Bears, and it's all positive because they got going back to the things we've talked about before. That instead of getting Matt Eberflus, they got the guy everybody wanted, and the guy everybody knew they should have gotten, and whether it works out or not, at least it's the guy that the most popular guy, and they did that, and they paid him, and now they're going all offense in free agency with the offensive line. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear that they're working much more hand in hand than the normal setup with the coach and GM.
Yeah, I mean, you say it's a new day at Hallis Hall. You mentioned, will Colston Loveland be the next Greg Olsen, or will he be the next Adam Shaheen? But I'm more curious on the other side of it with Ben Johnson. I mean, the quote of the year last year, you said, people go into Hallis Hall and become a lesser version of themselves. So is Ben Johnson going to be the next Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, or is he going to be the next Matt Nagy?
Yeah, that's to be determined. I think that's an important question to me, because right now everything about Ben Johnson, everybody loves it and it's great. But let's see what happens when he has an issue, that some of the issues like that Nagy and Eberflus had. When he has some adversity, how does he respond to that? How does he deal with that? I think I was talking with somebody the other day about, he would have handled the Tyreek Stevenson situation differently. Well, right now it looks like he would have, but it looked like Matt Eberflus would have too at this point in time, and he didn't, and he didn't handle it well. So let's wait and see what happens before we determine that. Right now, the signs are good. The question, I guess, is I think the other thing I've often said is he has to change Hallis Hall before Hallis Hall changes him, and that's any coach who comes in there. That's always what happens. With Vic Fangio, pretty clear. Nothing was going to change him, and it's no coincidence that he's the most successful coach they've brought in there in the last 20 years. Is Ben Johnson that guy? Well, we got to wait and see. So far, so good, but we have, there no bullets are flying, so it's too early to tell.
I'm going to give you a question that's going to be hard for you to answer, for anyone to answer here, Mark. But if the McCaskies, if George should go back in time and decide on whether or not to hire Kevin Warren, do you think they still hire Kevin Warren after seeing where they're at 2 years into the Kevin Warren experience?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I'll be honest, I haven't really thought much about that. Yeah, I think they do. I think they do because, I mean, I don't know what is what would the issue be that he hasn't gotten the stadium? Why would he not? I guess.
Okay, I mean, there's no overwhelming issue, and I'm not trying to make this get rid of Kevin Warren, but it's as far as like changing the entire culture. Like you're talking about, you got to get in there and change Hallis before it changes you. Kevin was hired in essence to do that, and so I'm sort of wondering, like, or just getting your take on like how much progress has he been able to make. The stadium, obviously, they're not there yet. It seems like he tried to get what he wanted, and I actually applauded him for it because I wanted the Bears to stay in the city.
Well, Mark,
it just didn't happen.
Mark, when the players, ranked and voted the team, they were ranked 14th out of 32. They were C+ in treatment of families, C+ in food and dining area. They had an A in locker room, B+ in training room, B in training staff, A in weight room, C with the head coach, but an A- in ownership. I don't know when it comes to any of that if that's helpful to what the thought is there, Mark.
Yeah, well, I think Kevin Warren thing is interesting in one respect is that at the beginning, he was brought here to kind of change the way they do business. And I'll be honest, at the very beginning, and I wrote this, I remember that he's been no better. He was no better than Ted Phillips. I mean, he was he was supposed to keep them from embarrassing themselves, and he didn't step in. Maybe he felt it was too soon. Like when Eberflus was struggling communicating some of these things with coaches getting coordinators, leaving and things like that. And even last year, he had, a difficult situation. He was, in fact, I think he was like part of the thing the embarrassment they had when they had Eberflus talk before he was fired. I mean, that was what Kevin Warren's supposed to prevent that, and he actually kind of made it happen. It was weird. It was like, but since then, I think it's changed. I think Kevin Warren's a big reason why they got Ben Johnson, and I think Kevin Warren's been helping. I think he's probably gonna. And now that he's gotten this Chicago stadium thing kind of, I don't know, out of the system, maybe it could still happen, but it seems like they're still going to end up where they probably should have in the first place, in Arlington Heights. And once that gets going, that's where he really did the whole Minnesota thing, was once they had already gotten the agreement in place. That's where really he stepped in. And so that's where I think he'll be better off. So I guess what I'm saying is I think it remains to be seen his impact. I mean, in one respect, Kevin's a politician. In one respect, he's very much like the McCaskies, but I think he also has a little more smarts to know when things need to be changed. And I think he realized with the new coach that they had to go do something that they don't normally do, and one of those things is pay a coach $13 million. I
mean, it is amazing that he had the ability to tell George and company, look, this is the top guy. We got to pay the going rate. It's $13 million. Cough it up, and they did it. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah. Do you think, Mark, from the tea leaves that have started to trickle down and the new mayor in Arlington Heights, do you think we're anywhere closer to actually breaking ground? And is that a possibility this summer? Because I know Bears fans are sick of hearing about it.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know the details or particulars. I stay away from the stadium stuff, but I think once they get the ball rolling on Arlington Heights or towards Arlington Heights and kind of get Chicago out of their system, I think it'll happen very quickly, because they have said all along there's an urgency to this. They weren't, they didn't go in thinking they had time. They knew that there was an urgency, but it just so happened they happened to hire a guy who had the exact opposite idea of a stadium than the guy who set up the first plan, Ted Phillips. So that was, I always say that's so typical of the Bears. They always misalign things. But now that they've gotten past that, and I guess Chicago's still alive, who knows? But it sure looks like I guess what I'm saying is once it becomes clear, and I think it has been, that Arlington Heights is the place, they had enough. I mean, look at what they had in order at the very beginning before Kevin even came on. It was a pretty, it wasn't just an idea. It was more than that. And I think it'll happen pretty quickly. So yeah, I think there's still that chance. Kevin's enough. I think he knows enough that once he's beat, he knows to go in the right direction.
Hey, hit the like button for Mark Potash, straight legend, always kind with his time with us here at CHGO, and really anybody who calls him, because he's just such a great guy. And Potsy, you got I saw the dinner you had with Tellender and Daryl Scowen, and pictures coming out of that, and the comments that people were making on social media about just just appreciating you guys. I hope you felt that, how much fans have appreciated what you've meant to the city covering the teams.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Mark. It's funny, I've been conditioned to kind of stay away from the comments on Twitter. In fact, Josh Rocky taught me how to not get the notifications so I don't see all the, because when you're in the middle of the beat, it's always kind of tough. So I really didn't see a lot, when I first announced I was leaving the Sun-Times. But then I saw it, and I'll be honest, it was just overwhelming because, like I said, I was telling people at this get-together, in the course of covering your beat, it's maybe 60-40, if it's anything, as far as, you get a lot of blowback. Well, when after I said I was leaving, it was like 99-1. I was just amazed. It was really it was kind of fun and very heartwarming that people to know that, or to get the impression that you reached people and that people appreciate what you did. So it was literally overwhelming. I just couldn't. I literally didn't know how to handle it. The expression of gratitude. So I am. Very thankful for everybody, the sports, all the Bears fans, and my colleagues in the media, you guys, everybody who's just been, I say it all the time, I'm just a grinder. I just kind of work at it, and it's nice to be appreciated, no matter who you are, I guess.
Well, you treated people incredibly well, and I think that from the fan standpoint, they just really appreciated that you were one of the guys in there that were not afraid to ask, or maybe you were afraid, you just asked the tough questions, period, right? I mean, I don't know, what were you going to say, Greg?
I was just going to, yeah.
No, I'm saying thanks for making that distinction, because like Sylvia always says, you're not afraid to ask the tough questions. I keep interrupting. No, I am afraid. I hate it, but I just do it anyway. So right. It's very uncomfortable. I'm not one of these guys who takes joy out of putting people on the spot. In fact, I always say the toughest thing in our job as sports writers is when you have to put a guy like Matt Nagy, a guy you really like and a guy you're really rooting for, when you have to put people like that on the spot. That's not fun. It's been my best interest for him to succeed. And so to do that, I get a lot of credit for it, and I really appreciate it. But like I say, it's very difficult. I think it's the most underrated part of the job is that, we're like the toy department, but, asking tough questions of people you really like and really want to succeed, I think is a very difficult thing.
There's no doubt. Hey, Mark, hang in there for 2 minutes. I want to just talk a bunch more with you if you got the time.
Sure.
So
I got all day. Got all week. All year.
We'll get you out here in 10 minutes. I promise you. But first, hey, shout out to our friends at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake, which is kicking off the summer with the big Memorial Day savings. It's all month long. Come in today, shop the Memorial Day sales event, and drive home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. Do the math for you on select new Chevy models. That's sweet. Or check out their selection. 125 vehicles, always priced under $20,000. With Chicagoland's largest Chevy inventory, you are going to find the perfect vehicle for you. And one of the top-selling Chevy dealers in the Midwest. They're always able to keep their prices competitive, so you're going to get a great deal. Plus, you get the race price promise, which lets you shop confidently. Guaranteed. No add-ons, no hidden fees, no gimmicks ever. The price you see is the price you're going to pay. No stress with the price changing, negotiating, any of those tricks. People at Ray Chevrolet just want to help you get into the right vehicle at the right price. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since
1963.
Together, let's drive.
That's right. Want to give a shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays. We'll be rocking my Shady Rays once again at the Friday 120 Club here coming up on Friday. Cubs Socks. Our friends at Shady Rays are helping you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their sunglasses have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. With so many colors available, you'll find a pair that's perfect for you. Of course, you can get your Bears colors or your Cubs colors or whatever sports team you love here in Chicago. If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by their lost or broken replacement program. So that's about as good as it gets right there. So CHGO viewers and listeners, go to shadyrays.com and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code CHGO. That's 35% off polarized sunglasses, rated over 300,000 people, 5 stars by Shady Rays. So use the code CHGO at shadyrays.com. Serving the community sense. I'm kidding with you. I'm kidding with you.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I love our friends at Shady Rays. And I love you, Gregory. And as we continue with Mark Potash here, hey, Potsy, what's your thoughts on Caleb going into year 2? Are you expecting a big breakout, or do you think it's going to be a little clunky as we get the Ben Johnson era underway?
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it to be immediate. I mean, expect there to be a difference. I think that's the whole point of having Ben Johnson. And again, another advantage is having, Caleb Williams. I always say, he needs some work. It's going to take. He's not plug and play. He's assembly required. I think we learned that last year as far as being a quarterback, and that's why I think it's good Ben Johnson was hired. So, how well it works, it's really hard to say. I mean, it's potentially it could be, with a lot of other pieces in place, dare I use that phrasing, things could happen really quickly because they have the quarterback and the quarterback has the weapons, and that's how things work. And Ben Johnson has done this before. So this is pretty much, that's the thing. This is pretty much a similar cast. This is not saying, hey, it's not like hiring a guy who's lived off of Patrick Mahomes for 4 years or whatever, and then all of a sudden you expect something to happen. This is a guy who's done this with pretty much even Penei Sewell, the one weapon, not weapon, but the one supporting member that is the most accomplished. Even he was a younger player when he started. And that's the other thing is I think it's more important to compare this not to the Lions last year, but the Lions of 2022. When he went into that first season, his receivers were like DJ Chark and I'm sure Josh Reynolds and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who was coming off a season when he was nothing until Ben Johnson got his hands on him. So that's what they were starting with, and I think that's where the comparison should be. And I also think, not to get too far off subject here, but I think it's also important to realize that Ben Johnson, he was the offensive coordinator in 2022 with the Lions, but he had his hands on that offense for the last 8 weeks or 9 weeks of that previous season as kind of the passing game coordinator. So he knew what he had going into that 2020. Amon-Ra St. Brown was just another 4th round pick. If you look at his numbers before, when who was it? Was it I can't remember the coordinator. Lynn was their coordinator before him.
Is that right? I gotta look it up.
And you look at what happened afterwards. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown became a more than just a 4th round pick when Ben Johnson got his hands on him, and then his production doubled. And so I think that's good. I mean, he's coming in with much better receivers now than I think he had. But also he had that kind of a head start. They started out really hot. I think they averaged like 28 or more points in their first 4 games. And I'm not expecting the Bears to do that because he's just got here. Whereas in Detroit, he not only was just on staff, he was running that passing game in 2021 at the end, and so they got off to a running start. So when it goes to the question being the quarterback and Caleb Williams, I think the potential for him to have a fast start is absolutely there, but I'm not expecting it to happen because I think he needs a lot of work, and I think it's good. I think you're just conditioned to know in a Bears offense that it's just going to take time. So that's kind of the interesting thing about tearing it down to the studs, but expecting to be as good as they were. I think there's a little bit of a conflict there. I think that's going to be that might be a little tougher than you think.
You're right about it. It was Anthony Lynn before that, Darrell Bevell, and then don't forget Jim Bob Cooter was there from 2016 to 2018.
Of course,
shout out Jim Bob. How could
we forget Jim Bob? Yeah. We cannot. You're 100% right about the patience that we're all, including myself, going to have to kind of train ourselves to, Mark, because you know how it gets. By the time we hit training camp, the hype machine is overflowing. I'm in my full meatball form, and I'm just spreading nothing but hype and hope to the masses, and I can't help myself. It's genuine, but I always seem to stub my toe once the season starts, so I'm going to try to stay focused and not get ahead of my skis this summer, but we'll see if I actually accomplish that feat. One person that I am interested.
The general optimism is right. I'm saying that I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, there's a reason why you should be more optimistic about Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams than you were with Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky. There's a difference there. So it's not, so
thank you.
No, 100%. Now, my question to you is, how much is Braxton Jones in trouble here? Because he is reportedly going to be limited to start training camp. They bring in Ozzie Trapillo from Boston College. Seems like he's more ahead of the game in terms of being ready for the NFL than most second-round rookies. So he's getting first shot right now this summer with Karan Amagaji to kind of work itself out. Obviously, they're high on him or they wouldn't have drafted him in the second round. So I'm curious, just from what you've seen from Braxton the last few years and the idea that this guy could be up, Ozzie Trapillo can be up next to Joe Thuney and have that kind of tutelage. I think we've got a serious competition, brewing here come August.
Well, I think it's absolutely a competition. I think that's the way to go. The important thing that I heard in the offseason, not being there, but I heard the Bears saying this, is that I think it was Ryan Poles maybe who said, like, they, no matter what they do, they want to have this thing settled. I think even before training camp. I mean, that's, to me, that's the most. That's the most important thing, is to if you want to establish continuity, is not let this thing linger. They literally were rotating guys in the first few games in at least 2 of the years under Eberflus. I think it was at right guard. And that's no way to establish continuity. And I think the important thing is whoever wins it is to make your decision quickly. Position battles to me are generally overrated because there are two guys who are generally the same. I mean, maybe you might want to have one guy who is a rookie as opposed to a veteran, but it's usually not going to be that big of a difference, So, but anyway, I think it's going to be a competition. I'm not sure about Braxton Jones, how much he'll be able to participate or what his situation will be. But I think if he were 100% healthy, I think it would be his job to lose. But there's also the factor of you should have a better overall line. You have a better guy next to him, and that's going to make that left tackle better. But I think the key thing in that competition is, it's going to force Braxton Jones to be better, I think. But also the key thing is to get it settled either before camp starts or certainly early in camp, so that you go in, and I go on and on about the Bears and continuity, but I think it's real. I think it's been a big problem. The way to establish that is to have that thing settled earlier rather than later. So I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not going to say that the winner is going to be great because, like I said, position battles usually if there's a position battle, it's usually pretty close.
As we get to the top of the hour here, just a reminder as we leave you on the TV, you can upgrade your life, damn it, by becoming a diehard here. We're having a huge sale right now in our with our merchandise, 30% off. You get a free T-shirt when you sign up to be a diehard. We are having our spring cleaning clearance sale, 30% off the entire store, and store at storeallcitynetwork.com. Excuse me.
Store.allcitynetwork.com.
Store.allcitynetwork.com. Thank you, Steven. Store.allcitynetwork.com. 30% off on everything. Some stuff is 75% off. And yeah, diehard memberships are available for you. I believe Mark Potash just recently became a diehard, which
absolutely.
See, now look at that. That's our guy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, Potsy, we appreciate it.
This is why we love you.
Those take the North guys drop me like a hot potato.
We would never. Yeah. See, that's what they do over there. That's not how we roll. Hey, the big news this week, Mark, is Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals can't get together on a contract, and he's not going to play until he has signed one. So I don't think the Bears are the favorite to get him, and I still ultimately think he's going to end up in Cincinnati. But just hypothetically, he's out there. If you're the Bears, are you trading a second-round pick and maybe a player or whatever it would take to get somebody and paying Trey Hendrickson with where they're at right now, needing an edge rusher, but you're not necessarily certain how good the offense will be?
Yeah, before, I used to say, I don't know. But you know something? I remember distinctly when we were doing these training camp 5-6 years ago, we do these videos for the Sun Times, and the subject of Khalil Mack, who's in a similar situation, came up and we said, nah, the Bears aren't close enough. They're not going to do that. This isn't the guy who's going to put them over the top. And then, of course, they got Khalil Mack, and it made a big difference, at least early, when they had a chance. So based on that, I'm saying I used to say, I don't know. Myles Garrett, yes, but I don't know. I don't know about Hendrickson. But now I'd say if you have that opportunity and the wherewithal, and if it's not going to hurt you long-term that much if it doesn't work out, then I absolutely go for it. And I would definitely do that. So I'm not saying they should or whatever, but yeah, I think it's a much better option to me to go for it. I don't think it's ever too early. Let's say that. Let's put it that way. This is the first year of Ben Johnson. I get it. They've got to grow. I've got them pegged at 8-9, 9-8 this year, I think a lot of people do. But whatever. You're never that far away. Even though it might look like it, and especially in the Bears situation, with the quarterback, the coach, they're in a great position to take a big leap. So I think if you're in that position, you're always close enough to take a shot at a guy like Trey Hendrickson.
One last question from me, Potsy. I know yesterday you were kind of highlighting how Chicago has been on the wrong side of some coin flips that actually had some substantial, impact on the leagues. The different leagues that we, are trying to get championships here in the city. And we've won some coin flips that didn't really have as much of an impact. So I'm just curious from your standpoint, the draft lottery versus the way the NFL does it and tanking. Obviously, the Bears were able to tank a few years ago. That fetched them the number 1 pick, which led to a trade with the Panthers, which led to them being able to pick what they want at quarterback. So I'm just curious your overall overarching perspective of tanking and the draft systems between each league.
Well, I think it just shows you, the NBA thing just shows you how difficult of a situation it is, because you don't want teams tanking, but it's kind of working out. The teams that really tanked didn't benefit. And so you want to, related to the Bull situation, you want to tank, but only a little bit. You have to tank just right. I guess that's the point. In other words, so the system, I think, is there. I think it's working. I don't think there's anything better. Let's put it that way. I don't think there's anything better, because the reason why you had the lottery was to prevent teams from out and out just tanking for the position. But now it's turned out that, now you got these teams that are, closer to literally in the play-in, getting, the best player in the draft. But what's your other option? A team winning 17 games and getting the top pick? You don't want that either, right? I mean, that's what they're saying. Right. So you can't win. There's no way to do it other than, what some people say is just not even have a draft. Just let everybody be a free agent, something that I was totally against growing up and whatever, but now seems to make more sense to me because of opportunity. I don't think, teams have more opportunity. Some teams have more opportunity to offer. That might not be a bad solution. But I guess my point is about the lottery is that you can't win, because if you have the worst teams tanking, you don't want that. But now you've got the teams in the middle now are winning. So there's nothing. There's no right answer. there never is with the draft.
Right.
And the only solution is to just be really good at player evaluation and development, and get
Yep.
those guys at 12, Giannis, guys like that, Halliburton, guys like that who go 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, and become difference makers. And so in that respect, I guess I'll just say the solution to that is just be good at evaluation.
Right, because the Bears, they win 5 games last year, they lose 10 in a row, and somehow picked 10th in the draft. So there was a lot of teams in the NFL because they knew if they lost that certain amount that they would be
Right.
slotted a certain way, and so that a
You
lot
know,
of teams were
the average team in the 17 game season, the fifth pick is, 5 wins usually gets you like the 6th pick,
right.
and this year it got you 10th. So you're right. There's more. That was a bad break for the Bears. That they if they would have won 5 games the year before, they'd be 6th, and maybe they have an offensive tackle. Who knows?
We're going to see more of that, where it's like all
Right.
these teams bunched up at the top with a ton of wins, and then all these teams at the bottom that once they realize they don't have a shot, they're just going to throw it away. So
And it's a bigger issue it's a bigger issue in basketball because it's one guy can make a bigger difference, unless it's maybe a quarterback, but even that's kind of dicey. So it's the draft has always been kind of problematic that way.
and it's a longer season. So you're tanking in the NBA takes months, and there's 82 games, and it just gets to a point where you're insulting the fans. Whereas football, it's only 17 weeks or 17 games, and you can't really tank when you're playing or you'll get your head knocked off. So it makes it a little harder to not try in football like it is in basketball.
Yeah.
All I know. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Tanking is not like shaving points. Okay, that's a misconception that even I remember covering an All-Star game. Adam Silver seemed to be offended at the notion like teams that are tanking like they weren't trying to win like on the court. That's not what tanking is. Tanking is setting up your team so it's not good enough to win. That's what tanking means. That's what tanking is. Guys are not they're like I said, they're not like point shaving or just not or cheating or give whatever. They're just set. So that's really that's the issue. But either way, it's still obviously an issue in all sports. But like I said, other than just making everybody a free agent, I don't know what other solution there is.
A lot of love for you in the chat here, Mark.
Bulls, though.
Say that again.
I said, too bad for the Bulls. A lot of people kind of feel like that's almost justice because they've been like trying so hard to like without unwittingly to be in like NBA hell in this treadmill of being 39 and 43 every year. That it's like it's when are they going to learn their lesson? But on the other hand, look at them. They tanking wouldn't out now tanking like people wanted them. Wouldn't have helped them as much either. So I don't know. It's just hard to tell. I don't know. Just be good.
Shout out to the Bull Show last night. They did a great job. Losing the coin flip to the team that ends up winning the lottery sucks. That's just unfortunate. But that's the way it fell with Dallas getting the miracle 1.8% chance and the Bulls at a 1.7% chance.
So we missed it by 0.1%.
We missed it on a coin flip, which you can go back to the coin flip. David Green win Magic Johnson. Of course, that one worked out because we got Mike in '84. So I'll take that one all day long.
Terry Bradshaw with the Bears.
There you go. Hey, Posse, last one.
You don't get Peyton if you get Bradshaw, so who knows? I mean.
See, there,
it's so hard to say. Maybe if Magic Johnson goes to the Bulls, they become they become a great team. Who knows? But I guess most people would still rather have Michael.
Right here, MJ all the way. It was perfect for me. I was 11 years old. Thank you very much. Hey, Mark, on the way out here, your favorite Bear that you've covered, that you enjoyed talking to, or one of them, whoever pops to mind. It doesn't have to be your favorite, but like who comes to mind that you really enjoyed getting to talk to?
Well, let's see. I have to think about that. Kyle Long, I thought I got along well with him. And what I liked about my relationship with Kyle was that, like, he wasn't my guy. I wasn't his guy. A lot of times, guys, you just become almost friends. And we had our battles. I mean, I remember Kyle, it's always like a misunderstanding. Like he'd have a game, there'd be like a key sack or something, and I'd want to talk to him after the game, and so I'd kind of hover around his locker, just wait. I was giving him time to get, giving him his space or whatever, and he'd get annoyed. He said, "Well, you're gonna talk, whatever." Yeah, I can't remember what he'd say, but he would. I was trying to do him a favor, and I was annoying him by kind of hovering. So, and then there were a couple times, a couple of times where we kind of had it up. But anyway, it was a normal relationship, but yet I felt like at the end I thought we got along really well, and I still to this day get along. Kyle's a good guy, so I like him. Akeem Hicks, I had a good relationship with him. He was a guy who was very. I thought I like guys who kind of, I guess you say, keep it real or acknowledge reality, and he was one of my favorites. But going back to the my earlier days, I guess. Bobby Ingram, I thought, was a really nice guy, a wide receiver they had in the '90s, and Eric Kramer, I thought, was really, talk about keeping it real or just acknowledging reality. I remember he was really good. That was in the days when you could talk to the quarterback at his locker in the locker room after he talked at the podium, even if he did. You know what I'm saying? It was a much different. So the dynamic was different with all these guys. So I'm just thinking those are some guys I enjoyed talking to. Oh, and I can't Prince of Mukamara. I thought he was a guy. You talk about another guy who was he was like a really good sports fan, and I always like those guys who are kind of like us. And even though they're professional athletes, and I remember talking to him once about, yeah, man, I'd love to play for the Patriots. Yeah, it'd be so cool to play. And there's a guy who actually play. I say that, but he's saying that, and he was actually in the NFL. I thought, he was a really good guy, and those are just some of the guys I remember, off the top of my head, but. Yeah, a lot of good.
No coincidence. The players he named were also great with the fans as well. So there you go.
We got to talk to Prince at the Super Bowl this year. He was awesome. And Bochanton in the chat here, one of our regulars, probably say, "I'm shocked you didn't say Jay Cutler." Which,
well, I kind of understood Jay Cutler. I know we didn't have a great relationship, but he grew up a lot. He matured a lot and was better. But yeah, we're always gonna. I think he's. I actually like Jay Cutler. I think he was he was a better guy, but also he was like, he was a tough guy. He wanted to win. I don't question his desire. I think he wanted to win as much or more than anybody. I think he was very misunderstood, but I think he just socially had a very difficult time of being of expressing it and showing it. And he didn't suffer fools gladly. Like that's why he struggled with guys like Devin Hester and guys who were learning and stuff. And so that kind of prevented him from being the quarterback and the player he could have been. But overall, I think I like Jay. I thought he was good. I know he didn't like me, but I wouldn't have liked me either in his position.
Well, appreciate all your time here today. Before you take off, I do have like kind of a 50,000 feet view question. You've been through this a long time. You've been covering Chicago sports, and certainly not writing your eulogy, because I know you're still scratching and clawing and fighting out there and trying to. But at the same time, I'm curious about your perspective, writing for the Sun-Times and then seeing the transition to the digital age of sports coverage. And then you got jokers like me going out to training camp, getting my phone out and finding my way into the industry. And like even my mom and dad are both teachers, and starting to even have to fight against the idea that there won't be libraries one day. And I see the bookcase, the bookshelf behind you. So like I'm just curious if you'd have any message or thought to fans that are watching this about the importance of written content and like how we take in coverage and reporting versus analysts or personalities and meatballs like me, and just how the over-encompassing thing kind of all comes together.
I think it's very difficult because the lines have been blurred. The lines of objectivity have been blurred, frankly. The lines of everything, and it's very hard to. I think it's difficult to know what's what, and there's a lot of, rumors are now broadcast as if they were news and things like that. I think it's really different. I don't know how to answer that, to tell you the truth. The only thing I'd say, like what was important, I think it was most important to me in the latter stages of my career, the last like 10 or 15 years, was my objectivity, and that I wasn't beholden to anybody. And I think that that was, for a long time, I was always like kind of embarrassed that I was not a real news guy in our business. We're breaking stories, but on the other hand, I had an objectivity I think that served me well, and allowed me to ask questions and to write things and have and express opinions that I didn't have to worry about, aggravating somebody. So to me, the biggest thing is I think is objectivity. And I'll be honest, I really don't know how to answer that. I think it's very blurred, and it's a lot more difficult to do my job or to do what I've done. It's more difficult today because there's so many voices out there. Everybody has a voice and stuff like that. So I just think you have to be really knowledgeable, and you have to still read and listen to a lot and get different perspectives and kind of make your own decision on what's real and what's not.
Well, it's Potsy. We appreciate the time, and just to underline that point as we wrap up the show here, Greg Braggs was just brought back to his junior high school to speak as a journalist. And if anything's been more blurry than that, because this, I can give Greg a lot of great adjectives for all his accomplishments, but journalist is not one that I'm going to give to him. So that is one of the most blurred lines I've ever seen in the history of guys going back to their schools to speak. I don't know what you are, but you're not a journalist.
And to be clear, when I spoke to those kids, that was one of the first things out of my mouth. Like, I'm not here to tell you to not go to school. That is the number one thing. What you can do to be able to help yourself get into an industry. School is still of the utmost importance. I was raised by two teachers, and even though I failed at school, that doesn't mean that isn't your best path to success.
Did you say that Potash is a journalist and you're not a journalist? Did
yes,
you say that?
I showed them the difference in past, but I also think there is an opportunity. It's like you said, we're playing in the toy aisle. This is the sports entertainment industry, and so there is reporting and coverage within this entertainment business. But you also have to be entertaining, and ultimately you have to be good at meeting people, networking with people, and getting along and getting support from people like you, Mark. And I know when I first started this nonsense 5, 6, 7 years ago, even though you've been covering this team in a traditional way for a long time, you always showed me support and respect, even though I didn't deserve either. And so for someone like me that's just trying to do right by what I want to do in this sandbox, that will always go so far for me, and you will always have my support and respect.
I appreciate that, Greg. And let me say, like, with regard to that, like, there's been an influx of kind of new media on the Bears beat. And as someone who's older, you kind of look at that, a little bit like, well, is this right or whatever? But I got to say, I think overall, it has been an absolute positive influence. I'm talking in the media room itself, not just, yourself, Greg, but just in general, people who've been on the beat who maybe didn't come up through traditional ways. I think it's been much better. I was fearful too, as someone who's older. You're like wondering, what kind of questions are you ask? What are they going to, how are they going to be fans? This and that. I mean, bloggers and all people. And I think it's been an overall positive, in general, a positive, at least on the Bears beat. I haven't been on the other beats day to day, but I think it's been a good thing. So I think there's hope for that. But I'm also hopeful that that outlets like the Sun-Times and the Tribune and all the TV stations, still have a foothold at whether it's Hallis Hall or Cub Sox, whatever. I think that's still going to be a foundation because it can. The whole idea of journalism and reporting, it can break down pretty easily, as we've seen, if you don't have that foundation. So I think that's the most important thing is to keep that going.
Absolutely.
Mark, you're the best. Let's do this again soon.
Okay, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for remembering me. I always appreciate that.
And before you go, too, why don't you let everybody know, because I know you're still doing written content, where they can find your work right now.
Yeah, I have a website, markpotash.net. I just kind of do what I write whatever I want, and Cubs, Sox, not a lot of Bears because there's just not a lot going on, and I don't like to force it. But a lot of historical stuff, trivia. I have a collectibles section because I like sports collectibles, things like that. So just a lot of stuff that I do, the normal things, 1st and 10 things I do, and it's markpotash.net, and I think so far so good, and it's been a lot of fun.
Sweet. Well, keep it up, man, and we'll continue to show support your way.
I'm looking at it right now. This is awesome. I guess seeing pictures of Sean Dunston just gets me really excited.
Hey, if you like Chicago sports collectibles, I got a guy in Northwest Indiana that has a basement that will absolutely blow your mind. And then you're happy to come by. I'll show you it. I mean, I'm not kidding you. He has thousands of the craziest things I've ever seen. He has Willie Harris's cleats from when he stepped on home plate for the game-winning run of the World Series. He has Mike Greenberg's. He took Mike Greenberg's microphone when he was like announcing, doing sideline reporting at a Sox game, and he stole it, and it's in this dude's basement like 30 years later. He's got everything. Awesome. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
This website's awesome. I'm going to spend the rest of my day on here. MarkPotash.net. Mark, we'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Awesome to have Mark on, and I think everybody clearly enjoyed that.
It's great.
We obviously did. And Potsy, we've said it over and over again, just first class all the way. All right, Gregory. Tomorrow night, schedule release show 7 o'clock right back here as we will go through it in full depth. Hogue will be back. He had some family stuff today, so shout out to Adam. Hope they had as best a day as they could over there, and we missed him today, but thank you for being here.
Wait a minute. No super chats today?
Do we got any supers to hit up?
Not a single
super
chat.
What in the world? What? Hogue's not here one day, and all of a sudden.
All right, no big deal.
No. It is a big deal.
That's all right.
Forget every single one of you. All you people. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course, except for the Crystal. How did Crystal do in softball
Crystal was
yesterday?
phenomenal last night. She led us to victory, 18-2. Shout out to Crystal, who is dedicated to become good at softball. And right now, Crystal's greatest contribution is her presence. We will get to the hitting the ball past the pitcher eventually. The talent is there. I'm going to work with her, and the future is bright.
Dr. Gooch, $10 super chat. I got you, Brax. There we go. It's a little round of applause for Dr. Donald Gooch.
Thank you, Gooch.
Are you going to clap?
We
Start
appreciate
clapping. Thank you, Steven. That was like a 2 clap. Oh, we got to hear your toots, but you can't clap. Yeah, give him a toot.
Let me toot.
Give him a toot.
Let me toot the Gooch.
How did you know that was in his pocket?
Let me toot the Gooch. No
Gucci,
way. You
Gucci,
just
big
said
Gucci.
that into a live microphone.
Gooch, thank you. Also, thank you to not your average Jane, $5. Here's your super chat, Brags. And Crystal, suckered him in, $5. Here you go, CHGO, 18-2, hashtag 3P. Buddy Love, $5 from Buddy.
Buddy Love from the Nutty Professor. Love that movie. Oh my god!
I got to work on my harmonica for Bear Down and everything else. And I guess since you just did that, Gregory, you're reminding me.
Man, can we get a shirt that says "Toot the Gooch"? I mean, that is wild. That might be the wildest thing you've ever said.
Our guy Bruno hit us up on Twitter. He just became a diehard. My man Bruno. Lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of a sheep. Bruno, that's why we love you, because you're a freaking lion. You are the king of the jungle, and now you're the king of the diehards because you're our king of diehard day today. So welcome. Thank you for supporting. We appreciate it. I wouldn't do anything without talking to you in the future. Bruno, you're the man. Let's go, Bruno. All right. I think that's it for today.
That's right.
I had a lot of fun.
6'4".
6'4". Your
6'4". Yeah. What is it? Damn.
So we
had
a
tall guy come in.
Major soccer guest coming in. Greg, out of nowhere, for no one to understand, just guessed his height on the show. Can't see him because he likes to guess heights. He thinks he's great at guessing heights.
I was pretty close. He's 6'5". I said 6'4".
1 inch off. Hey, we'll see you tomorrow night at 7. Schedule release day. We get to plan how the Bears are going to go 17-0 tomorrow night. Have a great rest of your day.
Y'all silly like the mayor.